Hey, so this is part one of a two-part video where I'm going to show you how I use the digital art app Procreate on my iPad. So in part one of this video, I'll show the colors I use for the background of the painting, how I nearly complete the rest of the background elements, which in the case of this painting are the branches of a redbud tree, how I then load my painted background into the Procreate app, and then lastly how I try out multiple sketches in Procreate over top of my background and position them before I decide on the one I'm going to use. An earlier video I did showed how I completed a painting with only 5 colors on my palette. This one I'm actually only using 4. I'm a big fan of limited palettes. So here's the background of the painting. It's a fairly simple background. I just did a gradient from top to bottom using the 4 colors. I talk about them later on in the video, the palette. Ultramarine blue, burnt umber, alizarin crimson, and a little bit of mixing white. That's all there is. Okay, having done the background, at this point you can see I've sketched in the branches of the tree in this painting. The tree is actually a redbud tree, an eastern redbud. We're fortunate enough that the people who built our house had the foresight to plant 2 redbuds right off our deck, so we get to enjoy these beautiful trees. For those interested in the botany of it, I believe their Latin name is Cercis canadensis, which is kind of ironic since I believe they're not even native to any part of Canada, maybe extreme southwest Ontario where I live, but yeah, really a beautiful tree. This is how they look in the summer, just a really nice shade tree on our deck, but in the spring they look like this, just a huge number of flowers. That gives us their name. The buds are sort of red when they form and then open up to bright pink flowers. This painting is going to have them at the bud stage, and there will be a finch on one of the branches. But at this stage I'm just trying to rough in the branches, get the tones showing where the light is. I'm using only 4 colors on my palette right now: ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, burnt umber, and a little bit of transparent mixing white. Oh, and if you're interested in the palette I'm using here, it's a Stay Wet palette, and I made a review of the palette in this video up here. So back to the rough-in. The light in this painting is coming basically from the upper left to the lower right. So on my rough-in I'm just trying to capture that a bit with, the top of the branches and the parts of the twigs lit more from the upper side than the lower side. It might be due to redbud's coloring of the largely pink and purple leaves when they come out, that the bark and the branches themselves have a bit of purple in them. That's why I added alizarin crimson to the palette. When you mix alizarin crimson with the ultramarine blue and burnt umber, those together make a little bit of a nice black color. The alizarin crimson just gives it a little tone of red, sort of a purplish color, which is perfect for the bark of these redbud trees. So that's what I continue to rough in here. I'm not going to paint the buds until after the house finch is in place, because I need to see exactly where he's positioned before I decide exactly which buds I'm going to paint into the painting. I am following a reference photo from our tree in the backyard when it was just bursting into bloom, but of course I won't use all the branches or all the buds. That's where you use some artistic license and frame your subject the way you want it. It's your painting. Doesn't have to be an exact copy of nature. So the rough-in will keep going until I'm largely happy with all the branches. I'd get them probably to about 90% done at this stage. After the subject's painted in and all the flowers are painted in, there'll have to be some touch-ups, of course, of certain sections, but 90% is far enough to get to the point where, for me, where I can then plan out where the bird's going to be in the painting. And that's what I'll show next, using Procreate on my iPad. So what I'll do is, once I'm happy with the background, I'll take a picture of it with my iPad, filling the frame as much as possible and trying to keep it as square as possible. Okay, now let's switch over to Procreate. If you don't have this app, you can download it on the App Store. From Apple, it's really affordable. I think it's around $15 Canadian, so less than that in US. Unbelievable software for the price, for everything it can do. So what you're going to want to do once you fire up the app is create a new canvas, and don't pick one of the sizes here unless your canvas exactly matches one of the sizes. You're going to hit the plus sign and you're going to change to either inches, centimeters, whatever you have your canvas measured in. So the dimensions of mine, it's kind of an odd one. It's 8 by 12. So I'm going to go 12 as the width and 8 inches as the height. Click done. Hit the check mark, and now you have your canvas, which is the size and shape of the painting. So you'll see in the top right here you got layers. You start with layer 1, so that's going to be the background for me, the painting. Simply click over here, insert a photo, pick the photo of the painting, and you'll see it'll come in at exactly the size of your photo, so you want to try to get it to fit the box as close as possible that you've made. Again, doesn't have to be exact. You're not printing this, it's just for sketching. So once you have the photo on, you're happy with it, click the layer button again and add a new layer. You can hold the over layer and click rename and give it a name. Now I'm going to sketch 3 different possible birds for this, so I'm just going to call them sketch 1, 2, and 3. Each one gets its own layer, so you might as well just add them now. You can leave the default names. The names don't really matter, but for the sake of a demonstration, I think it helps. So once you have the layers, it's very important to see which layer you have selected. You can only select one at a time. So here I'm selecting sketch 1, and I will draw on the first sketch of my house finch in one of the poses. When I'm happy with that, I will switch to sketch 2. Even though you can see the other layers at any given time, you're not affecting them, you're only affecting the layer you're on. So now I will click on the paintbrush, use my pencil and sketch 2, and then I'll repeat that for sketch 3. Once the 3 sketches are finished, I can take them one at a time and move them around to see which one I like the best in which position on the canvas. You can zoom them in, make them a little smaller, get them sized just right compared to the other elements of your background. And once you're happy, you've eliminated the sketches you don't want, then you're ready to move on to the next step. So in part 2, I will show you how I take the completed sketch, the one I've chosen on my background, and get it back onto the board in order to complete the painting. If you don't want to miss part 2, please do hit the subscribe button, maybe even hit the bell, and you'll be notified when I release part 2. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next one. It's cold. Can you let me paint?